The agricultural sector remains a key driver of growth of the Ghanaian economy, contributing about 20% of gross domestic product and an average growth of 4.9%, and employs more than a third of Ghana's population according to the 2020 Population and Housing Census. In the rural areas, about 7 out of every 10 people are engaged in agriculture, making it the main income-generating activity. Despite these opportunities and prospects of the agricultural sector, access to secured land, a critical resource, is unevenly distributed. Women face varying forms of discrimination in accessing land, particularly in the northern part of Ghana. We engage women farmer groups in Tolon, Gushegu, and Savelugu in the northern region to highlight the poverty reduction potential of the increased benefit of land access to women.
Women accessing land before was not a very big issue because maybe the approach for women was we concentrated on gardening and household enhancement, livelihood strategies for women. But as things keep changing, we now have women who want to go big-time farming. When we say big-time, 5 acres, hectares and above. The general issue, I would say, is a socio-cultural problem. Because here in northern region, the lands are held in trust, either by the chiefs or family heads. So it's assumed that food will be produced for the woman to cook at home. Women rely on their husbands or their brothers to acquire land, which is not sustainable because she may work on the land and in the following year, somebody, a family elder will say, I want to use the land.
In northern Ghana, we are traditional people, and tradition also has its own details, and it's most people's way of life. And because of that practice of tradition and custom, that has made women's issue of land more difficult. Because in our tradition, where if the man marries you, you belong, so the man says, oh, you plus the land. So what do you mean by owning land?
Nika yidan kami bor sami ko bor kop tampai ko bor kobo o yimna ti yelo tuzoro ma ami yungo mangba bor la sama ni mi mangba bor la puloshi nangba ko o tuzoro ma yimma pulo ko ya duna tin yelore ningma ya kaza pulota ka ko omi ka o yo ami ntaswarma kopshi lankan ko ya o dungwa ni chanti yele non ba kya man sawara nyawo nya pulo shi tama kangba ko nsaka kanati yelma ingbai mal pulo kan wu okoko mi ka pulo kan yo to kulma bi'asani mangba san chanti nya mba wulana yinya mba wulana on chanti yelna kama ambor pulo sham na ko to chanti yele na zagla pa zagla o kanwunsu kagba mi yina no bor pulo shi no ko duzo ka chanti yele kyamane ka kyaman kana pama nan kana ti yele nyentang na ma katlenya pulo lo sheltu ko bako.
It's quite difficult, and there are reasons for that. If you look at the Tolong district, like many districts in the northern region, lands are vested in our chiefs and family heads, and these chiefs and family heads are mostly men. So lands generally are in the hands of men.
In the northern region, women cannot directly acquire land. Women acquire lands through their husbands allocating pieces of land for farming or acquire communal lands through a male or an elder of the community. Section 11 of the New Lands Act 2020 prohibits any act or practices that discriminate access to land on grounds of gender. However, these practices continue to persist.
Dama tigrana ma ku korma ba yala hale de je na chanta suso pulo ba chanta suso pulo kuta wen yel na kama de ai de kulma we ten de le de yela so taliye to ako yampa o ko pran o kuta kulma ka de zanya ye musra zantete mpara ka daba ma sha men ye she ba suna na zan ko ta pa ka ma ko wenya woni charame obran trajil ma ndon fune kala min ne ka tamai ta za ta ne yela ta gbanya ka ta songna ta de song ta man daba ma man be ma dun don ne ka ta ja chang to ne da ma mi she zang ma jela ka ku ta te ko ma hali son to ko ka guba ka chang ta so ko ku tale
dama ta ba kwara ta ka ko kwara daba ma mal ko ta biya ba ma mal ma kwar ban diro ba ko sa zan ta pa ba ne to ko seledi da zo ta yel mo khura zo ya pam dan don ma ne te yel mukhura de zoya pam nyim mang kuram ko ba cincini na ku chay ayen no shem te nge cincin ma de yela varame pran la ba kwara amba wel ni shele akujimi de zo te yel mukhura ma de zoya pam ka biela nyele te dum jongane de konkoren na ko mokote an ko en no shem hali te nge na yidana ayen no shem son de tumna yida rete en zan ko ka gbato yina son de tumna biya ayirante en be sikurfise kare nyon ka gbato yina son de zama ta kare yi ko shere pran la ta ka ko ta kwarzo ta benyer ko ta kwara ta kujim.
To overcome the cultural barriers to land access, the women formed groups to pool resources to engage community leaders for land.
When women groups come together and form FBOs, their chances of getting lands are obviously higher, in the sense that they are able to reach out to us as stakeholders in agricultural development in the district. And we are also able to help them by way of seeing the various stakeholders that are involved in land governance in the district, for us to be able to see how we can talk to each other to be able to make lands available for them to farm.
When women are in groups, they protect each other. That security, solidarity is high, and they can use that one to make a case. Everybody likes numbers. So if you are in a community where you have like 4 groups of 30 women each, that's already 120 women. So 120 women, if they're able to get land and they all farm and the land is accessible to them, is productive, what it means is that they are going to produce crops. That's how the community will benefit. They will sell. It also attracts more people back into their community, because when they aggregate those crops, it means that people will travel from far and wide to come into those communities and buy.
I am mele hain retanang bandir ko ka kol dam boba ama den ya boba ma group mauna izayan laqam tumlen bakale ara kun ya bukata.
The groups have a strength to engage chiefs. I remember in the year 2020 we did what we call a life after COVID, and our idea was put all our groups into formidable, stronger groups to go and engage their chiefs for land. Because they use groups, chiefs gave them the land because of the groups, but individuals were not able to access those lands. So it is possible to use groups to break some of the barriers.
The groups have an average membership between 30 to 40 women. Although they are largely adult women, there are a significant number of young girls who participate in economic activities through the groups. Due to the existing cultural barriers, the women groups have a male member who leads them in their community engagement, since women cannot directly approach community landowners for lands and other issues. In communities in the rural north like Tamabing, women are responsible for about 60 to 80% of household food and other responsibilities including children's education. Limited access to land makes it impossible for women to effectively perform these roles and predispose them to poverty. In 2022, the women's group in Tamabing lost their lands due to the cultural barriers compounded by weak tenure security. The members of the group shared the experiences of the negative effect of unfair property rights on women's livelihood.
Tanka kwe kwarma yel sradam jatu dundwana puni abi kala anfe akuto nyel hazin wacan ashibte hal de jana chanta datim na duran stu an gbabe nyel are fa ka be kan shukuru ma bi ayne bi yan chan shukuru ma ayida ma ka yi kal adra den yan twa yin pa ma gbaka dima wen zan ku ma chan shukuru ma de tazan de wa shukuru fisi amen do ma za wesirme ye kayi yan sham nyel arat ba ka ba chan re chan ta gwashi profisma kala zuus to chat be ma launa ta jina dama o ta chan ss kala jeni yigwal ar ko chan ye kal ar di ma yan lamana ta jine ke za ji agulta ba ka wala maliza
din yala yal muharlat ta dama bu ko ka shukuru yan chan ka du'le bzene bzani abam ya yan shama ma rin yala ka su ma ko ngbanya bjela an yuna bi shukuru ka yuna dangane de kwam mohortma ka te boan te rezang song selo ka be nyen te nyanya te nyatabu ka be tabte ka te gbaduna ngba nyang te bihma shukurma ka be chena do me te gbarga ma te lan kaya.
Traditional leaders and community landowners play a key role in determining land acquisition and allocation in the northern region, and thus critical stakeholders in addressing the gender-based discrimination in land acquisition.
We haven't had a lot of women groups coming in. It happened about 3-4 years ago. I gave them an area, and fortunately, there was no follow-up. The girls they weren't serious, or maybe the support didn't come. Otherwise, there's no difference because they are part and parcel of the area. I don't say because they are women group, I'm going to sell the land to them. No. Any group or financiers or NGO that will help the girls to do farming, fine. You come, I'll give you the land free, and you go and do your farming with the girls. And they can see what they can get out of that.
Women's access to and control of land is linked to the economic empowerment and ability to leverage local market opportunities towards improved livelihoods and poverty reduction.
I mean, families who don't know would think that when the woman gets the land and she produces, probably it would end up for the betterment of only the woman. But when we as the collective are able to show and to prove to families that when the woman is better off, it goes into the improvement of the households. I mean, i.e. the woman herself, the children, and even the husbands who release the land. That would go a long way to ensuring that they release the lands to the women.
If we concentrate on the women, it will reduce poverty in the various communities. But the women, when they get, they send it home to help the family. Not like the men, excuse me. They will sell it out before they even bring it to the house. They will sell it in the farm before bringing it in the house. But the women, they always bring it in the house to just help the family in terms of if a child needs money to go to school, pay school fees, and those kind of things. That is what they use their monies for when they get the opportunity to farm.
Fair and equitable land rights for women impact positively on children's education, access to food, and improved quality of life.
kan chang to die so bobga in chang die so liga in chang die so chinchini tin she kan ken ma amante ne je otin pe group ma ka be group bon in kana ta pat ka ti pele nta tan shi sam shelwa so gba yi pian sutura puni o gba yan yina da nu namsum group ma da fa nan bala nyinem bihe halim jiso o bian bon be yina ma so group ma puni ora sabla nanu ko rayan sobe ka kuna la group ma ban ma ta la'an song ma dana ma na kanda nya fa ko mbolra ma ko chang sobe na ka kuna ka fa no wala ya
din chagan cha group ma nyela group ma mala song sam zang tata pawa ka en pie de mana ka ye mo sir bzai ndege di dwe ban to song sa ka chang so a kwele anto kwele ka lagar ma pa million pish be million pish na i kwele nare ni to zang len dag mana zang ze be kan zang len yabon ko zang dambe ni pie group ma de song ma de song sama chang to ni tanto ko kwele kan to psili ka kwabsa kana ka to lan zang le kwad amamang fu ka ri chang to ni
tin ya kwab ma tin da yin ya polo kan ya tabu ka batam song to ka to ko ti kwala sole bi sibe sma be ka wana ti yan gomme en malle en kwalna to song lu yine ka in ya da bi song yen dar ka dama be zusa de sa dama ye be zen yalanga ka lele da bi ma kana ka te mal dama kwatu anya ka larma chena ka tabu ma chena ka te gbanyar bjela rafune in yuna bihma ka yuna te danga mana ka bjahagu chena.
To this end, Imani proposes a collaborative and consultative stakeholder engagement with community landowners to amplify the increased benefits of land for women.
The important point is to make sure that you are getting the men involved. The landowners and the husbands must understand why the women will need the land to be able to also contribute to development in their household. So the advocacy must concentrate on who is the current owner of those lands that we want to collect. We want to share. It's not collect, we want to take some and give to their own people again to develop. Who are they? They are the husbands that we have. They are the landowners who are the men. So we need to engage them further. Because the experience is that when you talk to them, you engage them, they see the essence of it, they give it out. So the other thing, advocacy, is that as they give it out, can we go further to look at tenureship? Even if it is not about owning it, but it is about rights to use. Extending the ownership, the usage right, to say that, can you make an MOU over this land for 15 years, 10 years, that kind of thing, so that the woman also invests in that land. Because this time the lands are so fragile that they need some level of investment. So if the women are aware that, oh, this land, we have control over it for the next 10 years, the next 15 years, they will invest in it, get all the benefits, then probably renew again. So it's about long-term usage. So for me, the advocacy should concentrate also on talking to the men.
All stakeholders in agricultural development, i.e. the Department of Agriculture, traditional leaders, civil society organizations, should come together with women groups that are involved in agricultural production to do some more advocacy for our traditional leaders and our family heads, to see the need for us to reserve some lands for our women to be able to use for their farming activities. And we can do that by engaging the family heads, letting them see what the results of such engagements and acquisitions can do to the women and their families. Aside of releasing the lands, there are other barriers. One other barrier that is there is land development. Currently, for example, in Tolong, we have a lot of lands that are undeveloped, agricultural lands that are undeveloped. So, for example, if traditional authority or traditional leaders release these lands to the women, there is going to be another secondary barrier of developing the lands even before they can use them for the agricultural purposes. So, as civil society organizations, as government agencies, and as traditional authorities, we could also be, aside of advocating for the release of the land to women, we could also go a notch higher by ensuring that the government also institutes some policies that would do some initial land development for the women, so that the woman can now go in and plow and now start the production. Because as it stands now, even if lands are released, obviously these are going to be lands in their raw or natural states, and it will take you some resources to be able to develop them up to the point where you would only plow and then start production.
A particular chief may allocate the land, but when he's no more, another chief may come and his target is not that. So we want them to really document so that we have a binding document for the women.
We are ready to support women farming, because if you look at what is happening now, the number of youth that are actually going no work, and the number of school leavers that are roaming around without work, I think it would have been a very good thing if you can actually interest all of them into farming. I know some of them have come up, and we have even given them the land, but unfortunately they haven't had the support to start any meaningful farming. I can call some girls to come here, they told me, now we have a group, we need land. We show them the land and the support to farm, that is to land preparation, planting and maintenance. Nothing came forward.
It is increasingly clear that a fair and equitable access to and control of land for women can have catalytic effects on reducing rural poverty. In spite of the new Lands Act protection of the land rights of women, these benefits have not translated to removing the cultural barriers to land acquisition for women in the northern region.
I experienced one woman among the group. According to her, she is from there. She's a native from there. And she got married to a different community. The husband passed away. She came back to the community. Looking for land was very difficult. She didn't even get, because her husband is not in that community. So such a person, if she's going alone or solely to do soya beans cropping, she can't get unless she join a group.
The group ngo tenda mal group lahan de korma. De tra nyar song sam pam dane. Song sam ma da yina. Te am pergala mati taba. De to song ne te katenang na yama tirta bishkur be ka bangobra ka chana. An song ne te ka to nyar bam bra bia bia an tirta iran ma ka ba batane ra yelage. An song ne te ka to nyar la bia ko hara te mang ni yara. Tentu nya belada ama tembla nyar ko ngubur korma te yel mukhrama katatabo pompo tebla nyar la an ko ma tebla nyar la ma telan kaban sha'u den yan to nan hal ta groupe ma pune te mang yel mukhra te yel karam de mukhota pam de ma tebla to nyar te so yobo ne ma dara ama ko nye jar lagre akunye de shukur fi siya akunye ben sha'u ama den da bian ma dra song ne te pam de zo ka te sura na won yi cheka nirbe yina to songte wanda ba yina kay yira wa yesongate tel nan labta na parne tel nan bi ka ten da bi shamma de zo tambor le shamba.